Welcome, Flesh and Blood family, to the first of what I hope is a very long series of videos for us at the King's Table. My name is Preston. I'm one half of the King's Table. And yeah, like I said, this is going to be the first video in a series that we are hoping is really going to be an excellent resource for new players or even for existing players that are trying to help friends and families and new people at their LGS get into the game. And that series is $35 deck techs. It's that simple. When we think of the $35 amount, or we think of getting into card games, I think the reason that we thought that was a reasonable amount when it comes to getting into a card game is that when you think of Pokemon, they have their league battle decks, and I think those are like $30 retail. And Magic the Gathering, if you are getting into Commander and you go to buy a Commander Precon, you're usually looking at like $40 or $45. So $35 is a really great place to start, and it was a really fun challenge. We've got a number of these in the pipeline. It's a really fun challenge to have that that restriction, that monetary restriction in our deck building, and it's caused us to find some really fun decks and to see some really cool things. I mean, we have seen kids. We've seen kids at our armories show up and win an entire armory with a budget Dromai or something like that. And we're not talking about like $100 or $200 budget Dromai. We're talking about a $30 budget Dromai. So it is possible, and that's the goal, right? When we get new people into card games, it can be hard sometimes. It can be hard to, not just get them, get their financial buy-in to a new game, but get them convinced that it's worth coming back week after week to join you, at your LGS or at your kitchen table or whatever. And so we wanted to create these decks that were, viable and could, win games. And so we're really hoping that this helps people walk away from a Friday Night Armory saying, hey, I walked away with a winning record, and I got maybe a playmat out of this night, or I got a couple of the promo cards, or whatever that is. Because that is the sort of thing and experience that is really going to get people coming back to the game, to the LGS, whatever. And it's really important that we help new players create those positive play experiences. And so, yes, we're aware blitz decks exist. We're aware that there's a new player product coming. But there are a lot of people who really like to, craft something, really like to pick out singles, or get a bunch of cards from their friends and, use those to build decks. And so this is really an opportunity to say, hey, if you've got, $35, you want to try out Flesh and Blood, and you want to win some games and win some prizes, and, really test out how much you like this game, this is the way to do it. And so we're going to start with a hero that when I first saw the card, I wasn't sure that I was going to, I wasn't sure I was going to build something around. And I wasn't really sure how he would actually play out in deck building and on the table. But I have to tell you, I have built a deck similar to this. I have one in my deck box over there somewhere there, and it is an absolute blast to play. So I'm really excited about making this video. Really excited about this series. And, we're going to try and keep these to, pretty short videos in the future, so that they're easy for new players to digest. But I figured since this was the first one, we take a moment and really just explain why we're doing this, why we love creating these sorts of budget deck options, because we really want people to show up, have a good time, fall in love with Flesh and Blood like we have, and walk away with a really great deck that they enjoy. So let's go ahead and take a look at Arachne Solitary Confinement. He is an assassin, young assassin. So this is going to be a blitz deck. He has the good old standard 4 intellect, but he is operating at 19 health to start. And so Arachne has quite a fun ability, quite fun ability anyway, that your first attack with stealth each turn has Go Again. And so this is going to be a deck, or at least the way that this one is built, and where I found them to be the most fun, is actually building a deck where everything feels like a surprise. Your opponent can never really guess what you're going to be doing with Arachne. So let's go ahead and let's dive into our equipment loadout. We're running right at the edge at that 11 equipment slots for Blitz. So again, new players, if you have not heard this, when it comes to Blitz deck building, you have 11 slots for your equipment weapons, and you have to build a 40 card deck. And you can have up to 2 copies of each card, and that includes the different colors and the pitch values of the cards too. So as far as equipment, we are running for the primary headpiece. We're going to run the Mask of Malicious Manifestations. It does block for 1, and it says action for 1 resource. Put a card from your hand or arsenal on the bottom of your deck. Destroy the mask and reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal an attack action card. Put it into your hand, then shuffle. So this is going to be, if you've got a card in your hand, doesn't necessarily have to be a dead card per se, but if you just need something that is going to suit the situation, or you need an attack that's going to suit the situation a little better, let's say you've got no stealth cards or no stealth attacks in your hand or something like that, this is really going to provide you an opportunity to get out of those sticky situations, and the art is also fantastic. For the chest piece, we are running the Vest of the First Fist. When it says when an attack action card you control hits, you may destroy the vest, and if you do, gain 2 resources. This is going to be great for paying for, because the whole strategy here, remember, has to do with Go Again, has to do with going wide, and so the vest is really there to give you the resources to pay for attack reactions and to pay for some other things later in the turn if you can get one of those initial attacks to hit. I've also experimented with Blossom of Spring is a good option in this deck as well. So maybe, if you are putting these cards together and either you or someone at your LGS, the friends you play with, whatever the case might be, no one's got a vest lying around, but you got a Blossom of Spring, that's an option too, right? So there are a couple different generic chess pieces that could fit in there. And there's also a couple from Outsiders too that you could take a look at. But just in my testing with this, I found Vest to be, a suitable option. And who knows, maybe you'll crack some Outsiders packs, maybe you'll get lucky and pull a Redback Shroud or something cool like that. For the arm piece, we got Toxic Tips. It does block for 1. And it says action, 1 resource. Destroy the Toxic Tips. The next attack action card you play this turn gains when this hits a hero. Create a Frailty, Inertia, or Bloodrot Pox token under their control. And this is there to just sort of add insult to injury. If you're, getting close to the end of the game and you want to stack on some Bloodrot or, whatever is going to, provide you the best advantage against your opponent, that's just there for some added, like I said, some insult to injury, some extra fun to stack on your opponent. And then for the leg piece, we are running the Snapdragon Scalers. This is as an attack reaction. Destroy the Snapdragon Scalers and target attack action card with cost 1 or less gains Go Again. So this is going to give us an opportunity to get some Go Again to attacks. There are a couple of non-stealth attacks in here. And so if we, need to give something Go Again that doesn't already have Go Again, if we're really trying to have a wide, awesome turn, that is what that's there for. And then a couple of sideboard pieces for the inventory before we get into the weapons. We are running the Nullrune Hood for the Arcane Barrier, as we're also running the Nullrune Gloves. Because the mask and the Toxic Tips I think aren't as important as the chest and leg piece. That's why I've chosen to go with those Nullrune pieces, and then the Arcane Lantern for the offhand to give us some additional Arcane Barrier. So that's what we're running for equipment. Now for weapons, running one each of the assassin daggers. So we're running the nerve scalpel, the orbitoclast, the scale peeler, and the spider's bite. Now, this was something I've gone back and forth on a lot, but I think that the conclusion I've reached with these is that it could seem initially to a new player like it's a steep learning curve to deal with for different weapons and how to properly sideboard those in based on your opponent. But what I ultimately settled on was that because they're all essentially identical in that they all attack for 1, they all have the same cost, they all have go again, they all have the piercing 1. The only difference is the actual type of card that gets the -1 nerf. And so ultimately, I've determined that it's not steep enough of a curve to turn a new player off. And when you hand a new player this deck and they're going through all the cards and they just get to see 4 super awesome looking daggers in their hero's deck, I think it just really adds to the flavor and the fun. And so that's why I've chosen to run one of each. Some people might say, well, the spider's bite is just too good in Blitz. Run 2 spider's bites or just run the nerve scalpel. I get it. I know that there's use cases for every one of them, and some might be situationally better than others or whatever. I get that, right? But again, we're talking about the positive play experience for a new player and just how cool it's going to be for them to look at all these really sweet weapons and be able to have a choice in that, have a say in what weapons they get to throw down every match. So that's ultimately what I've settled on for the weapons. I think it's going to lead to just new players having a blast with those. So we'll go ahead and we'll transition into the deck here. We're going to talk about all of the attacks with stealth first because that is sort of the backbone of the deck. Because Arachne does say that the first attack with stealth has go again every turn. That is, like I said, the foundation of how this deck operates. So we are running 2 copies of Backstab. Most of the stealth attacks are going to be, or at least the reds, and we do run a couple of yellows, and I'll get to those in a moment. But as far as the reds go, most of them are going to be 0 cost, block for 3, attack for 3. So Backstab, defense reactions can't be played to Backstab's Chain Link. We are running Infect, where if it hits, it creates a Bloodrot Pox token under your opponent's control. We are running Infiltrate. It says when this hits a hero, banish the top card of their deck, and you may play it until the end of your next turn. That one, I'm still on the fence about Infiltrate in this deck and in my own personal assassin decks. I think it's a lot of fun, and the reason I've chosen to keep it in this one is that I just imagine you're on your first or second trip out to an LGS playing Flesh and Blood, and you've been playing this deck a couple of times, and just imagine being a new player, getting that card to go off and pulling something insane from your opponent's deck, and it totally turns the tide of the game, or it creates this crazy interaction, or whatever the situation is, right? It is a card that I think most of the time you'll just pitch to pay for things, right? But for a new player, or even for an existing player, you get that card to go off once on a Friday Night Armory, people are going to be talking about it for weeks. And so I think, again, it really plays into that new player experience, having the opportunity to maybe do something super cool with that card. And it's just, again, another stealth, another activation of that go again. So that's why that is in there. We're running 4 copies of Isolate, 2 red and 2 yellow. The yellow is going to attack for 2, but otherwise still the 0 cost block for 3. And it says it doesn't say, it just says dominate. It just has a dominate keyword. So this card I found to be very important to the deck because it enables things after Isolate is played. And once we go through all the cards in this deck, we'll do a couple of test hands to maybe just show you what some card interactions might look like when playing this deck. And hopefully, maybe 1 or 2 of those situations come up. But I really like Isolate. It is sort of an intimidating thing, even though it only attacks for 3. It just creates some really fun potential in your next attacks. 2 copies of Malign, again 0, 3, and 3. Damage that would be dealt by Malign can't be prevented. And then we're running Prowl. 2 copies of Prowl. The next attack with Stealth, you play this combat chain, gains +1. Again, 0, 3, and 3. And then we've got 2 copies of Sedate. This one's going to create an inertia token if it hits. And then we've got Wither, which is going to create a frailty token if it hits. And so those are sort of the foundation of the attacks in this deck. Now we are running a couple of non-stealth attacks, so we'll talk about those really quickly. I'm just going to start here with the Hurl, because Hurl, again, similar to Infiltrate, Hurl is one of those cards that I was concerned about maybe being too complicated potentially for a new player. But I think that if a new player, or again, I mean anyone, right? Like anytime you play Hurl and you get to, do the throwing dagger shenanigans that Outsiders has enabled in Flesh and Blood, I think it's awesome. I think it's a blast. So all that to say, that's why Hurl is in there. It's still a 3 with Go Again, or a 3 attack with Go Again, but it provides the opportunity for some really fun things to happen. And then 2 copies of Death Touch. I've been on the fence about Death Touch in this particular deck just because it does have to be played from hand. It is a 1-cost attack, blocks for 2, and swings for 6. And again, it says it can't be played from hand. And when it hits a hero, create a Frailty, Inertia, or Bloodrot Pox token under their control. So the reason I've been on the fence about it is that it can sometimes feel a little bit clunky in a deck that wants to just 0 cost, 0 cost, 0 cost. And, obviously you're playing things from hand. So the arsenal portion of this can feel a little bit weird, but there's a lot of other stuff in this deck that can enable, when you do have the chance to get a Death Touch off, it can enable some really, really crazy things in this particular deck. So that's why I've kept it. It's certainly fun when you can get it off, and so it's there. Try it out. Again, this is a starting point. If there's something you don't like and you see something that fits your playstyle, your preferences, then let's chat about options and things we can change. But Death Touch is fun, so we'll keep that in there. And then that is so the only other attack then, Ravenous Rabble. It is it's an enabler. It has the Go Again, and because we're running so many reds, most of the time it's be coming in for 4. So it's a 0 for 4 with Go Again, and it just helps to get those really wide turns. And if you are getting things like Ravenous Rabble out first, either the opponent's going to take the damage and then you're closer to winning, or they are going to block it out and they have fewer things to block your attacks later that start to give the Bloodrot Pox tokens or some of the other effects of cards that we'll talk about here in a moment. So Ravenous Rabble really is an enabler of sorts for those reasons. And then before we get to attack reactions, I'll just really quickly cover instants and regular actions that are in this deck. We are running 1 copy of Sigil of Solace, 0 cost instant, gain 3 life. You're starting at 19 health, and so having an opportunity to just gain 3, it's helpful. And in Blitz, that 3 life can mean a whole world of difference. So we'll throw 1 copy in. I found it to be useful every time I play this deck. So, why not heal, right? As far as just regular actions, there are a couple in this deck, 4 to be exact. So we're running 2 copies of Nimblism. It is a 0 cost. It does block for 2. It's a generic action. This is the next attack action card you play with cost 1 or less, which is everything in this deck. You play this turn gains +3. So this is just an opportunity to set up really big turns or set up really big attacks. If you're playing something like the Death Touch or you're playing an attack that has some crazy on hits, then there you go. That's your 0 cost buff. And then we are also running 2 copies of Red Toxicity. This one, again, the fun factors through the roof with this card. There are some things that, and when I first saw this card, I was really stoked, and then I thought about it a little bit more, and I was like, man, that's gonna be really hard to pull off, because it's an action, it's not a reaction, and so your opponents know that it's coming, your opponents know that it's right there, and they'll just block out your whole attack, right? Well, there's some things in this deck that actually make it a lot easier to get a toxicity, to take effect than you would maybe think just reading the card by itself. So, I love toxicity in here. I've gotten it to, hit and succeed a number of times, and it is a blast every single time you get it to happen. So, that's why the toxicity is there. So we'll talk about reactions next, because they are the enablers of the fun in this deck, right? So we'll start with Spike with Blood Rot. It is a 1-cost reaction. It does block for 3. It says target attack action card with stealth gains +3, and when this hits a hero, create a Blood Rot Pox token under their control. This card is great because when we're talking about Blitz and we're talking about 20 or less life, unless you're Valda, doing that extra 2 damage or removing resources from your opponent's hand, can be vital to swinging the game in your favor. So the Blood Rot Pox token in Blitz and with this deck is really great, and it does have the specific restriction on stealth, but we're running so many stealth cards in this deck anyway that it's not actually that restrictive. We are also running 2 copies of Razor Reflex. It is a 1-cost generic attack reaction that blocks for 2. And when you play, you get to choose 1. Target sword or dagger weapon attack gains +3, or target attack action card with cost 1 or less gains +3, and if this hits, this attack gains go again. So this is in here because of its flexibility and the way that it sort of works with a number of pieces of this deck. So if you want to go ahead and you want to go dagger heavy in your attacks because you have 4 different dagger options with Arachne, right? Then you can go ahead and you can buff those dagger attacks, or what is really, I found to be the best part of Razor Reflex for this deck is getting that +3 and the go again to enable those wide turns. And then we're running 2 copies of Razor Reflex. It blocks for 3 and it's a 0 cost. The artwork is fantastic too. But it's going to give a target attack action card with stealth +3. And so this is really great for, again, playing those mind games with your opponent, and you've got a great attack on the board with a good on hit or something, and they think that they've blocked you out, then might as well go ahead and just toss 3 right on top of that. So Razor's Edge is another fantastic card in this deck, but it is not my favorite reaction in this deck. Now, my absolute favorite reaction in this deck is Shred. Shred is the card that is going to you're going to remember all of the times that you played Shred in a night, because with this deck, Shred is going to enable you to have just a ton of fun. So Shred is, like I said, it is an assassin attack reaction. It blocks for 3. They're all 0 cost. The red says target card defending an assassin attack gets -4 this combat chain. The yellow gives -3, and the blue gives -2. So just being able to present a big crazy attack with a lot of damage, or with a lot of good on hits, to present all of that to your opponent, or maybe even like the toxicity, for example, right? You want to go ahead and you want to just remove 5 life from someone on top of whatever damage an attack is going to do, then your opponent thinks that okay, great, like they've got all these buffs and attacks and on hits, but that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and block them out, and they wasted all their cards to set up this crazy attack, but I'm just going to block them out. No big deal, right? And then you go ahead and you throw it on a Shred, and you're able to reduce that defense enough to get the attack to hit, to get the on hits to take effect, to get toxicity to trigger, to get blood rocks, or blood, I would say blood rocks, blood rot pox. That's what I'm trying to say. To get those assigned to your opponent. So Shred is just such a fun card to throw down on the table and say, well, actually, no, you haven't blocked it. You're out of luck. And so I think that, like I've said, and I apologize if I've said this too many times, but this deck is just so much fun to play. And I think that for, obviously for existing players, right? But for new players too, it presents so many different options to, with very little knowledge of the game or very little experience in the game, to still have some really fun gotcha moments and to have some really fun paths to victory that is going to get them coming back, to get them coming back to the game, to get them coming back to the table. And that's why I was really excited to do this deck first in the series, and I've just had so much fun playing it lately. And so I hope that this can inspire some new players and can be something that is enjoyed by other people as well. And like I said, $35 and under. We'll go ahead and we'll scroll over here to the pricing section of Fabrary. Fabrary says right at $30. And so, you got a couple bucks left over. If you want to foil out some of these commons, great. Go ahead and foil out your commons or whatever that takes. This is, like I said, the goal is $35 and under. And a lot of this stuff, if you are a new player listening to this and you've got a bunch of people at your LGS that are trying to get you into the game, or you got friends trying to get you into the game, and they've opened a bunch of outsiders, a lot of this might just be bulk that they have sitting around. And maybe you don't even have to spend that full $35. Or maybe you're an existing player and you're saying, how do I get people into this game? How do I build decks that are cost effective, so I'm not going broke trying to build decks to give to people? But a lot of the cards in this deck you might just have sitting around if you've opened a lot of outsiders. Obviously there's some non-outsider stuff like the Shred, but maybe you just have some of this stuff sitting around. It's a really, really easy way to build something that is powerful, that is really fun, and provides some really great learning opportunities for for newer players to experience different mechanics and different styles of gameplay. So we'll go ahead and we'll wrap up here in a moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over to, again, we're in Fabrary. I'm going to go to the Draw 4 tab, and we're just going to look at a couple of hands and kind of see what would I do if I was playing a game and I had this hand. Now, obviously, we don't have an opponent. We can't account for what an opponent's going to do. This is just to say, hey, new player to this deck, new player to Flesh and Blood, whatever. Here's an opportunity to see some cards and to see how cards might interact in this deck. And that's going to be the purpose of, when we do these deck techs, why we're going to go into the Draw 4 tab and cover that. And then we'll get you on your way to do things other than listen to my voice. So this is an interesting hand, not going to lie. But this is just one of those hands where you just try and present a bunch of damage. I would maybe even... yeah, you could have some fun with this. So let's say you play the Ravenous first. It's probably gonna be coming in for 4 because we run so many reds in the deck. And so you go ahead and throw the Ravenous. And then what I would probably do next is I would probably... yeah, why not? I'd probably throw the Backstab. And then maybe if you want to crack the Toxic Tips early, then you could pitch the second Ravenous Rabble to play Isolate after cracking the Toxic Tips. So, that's a possibility. Yeah, this is a little bit of a tough hand, but having those 2 Ravenous Rabble is kind of a bit of a bummer up front. But you still have options. And depending on whether or not you were going first, if this was your opening hand for the game, that could present some different decision making. But, it's still something. You can still present a bunch of attacks in one turn. Let's go ahead and take another hand. All right, so this is interesting. Again, we want to have fun with this deck, and so what I'd probably do, I would probably start by playing the Infiltrate. because the opponent, like if they've got a deck where they have a lot of stuff that you could probably play if you ended up banishing it, then maybe they're going to be really concerned about that and they're going to try and block this out. Or they don't care and you get to banish the top card of their deck, and the 3 points of damage hit, and you're closer to winning the game. So it's a possibility. But I'd start with the infiltrate, and then this is where, like I was talking a few moments ago about attack reactions and things like toxicity. I would go ahead and I would throw down the toxicity first, because it's an action, so we have to play it first. Throw down that toxicity, let the opponent know that there's some shenanigans coming, and then I'd go ahead and play the backstab. This is defense reactions, can't be played to backstabs, chain link. And then if they block it out, so here, this is one of two things that can happen, right? So it's coming in for 3, defense reactions can't be played, and so they have to make a choice. Do they think that more is coming for them and they overblock, which is still good for you because then that's cards out of your opponent's hand. So that's still a positive thing for to happen in the game for you. But the other thing is that they don't overblock, and they only block the 3. Then you get to come in with Arachne right here on Razor's Edge, and you get to give it +3. And so depending on how much they blocked, you're doing potentially 3 damage, maybe 4 if they only blocked with 2. But then they're losing 5 life because the toxicity goes off. So, this is one of those turns, like I was saying, where you can have some really fun turns with this deck when you get the cards and the attack reactions to interact that way. So, let's do one more. Okay, so this is interesting. So here's what I would do. I would probably go ahead and the hurl. So what I'm more concerned about here, and it depends on your opponent too, right? But if the inertia token is going to be helpful, then I would probably just try and get some damage presented. So throw the sedate at them first. And then depending on how much they choose to block, or if they want to block, because we've still got our Snapdragon Scalers and the Razor Reflex. If we decide to do it, we have the opportunity to have go again. So, and actually with the Vest of the First Fist. So what I'd probably do is I'd probably go ahead and play the Sedate. If that hit, if our opponent let it hit, then you could go ahead and destroy, you could destroy the Vest of the First Fist to go ahead and give you 2 resources because this attack action card hit. And then you could spend one of them to pay this cost of Hurl. So it says, as an additional cost to play Hurl, you may pay 1. When you do, it gains when this attacks, target dagger you control deals 1 damage to target hero. If damage is dealt this way, the dagger is hit, destroy the dagger. So you could use that to make the dagger go off and have, like I said, have some fun. Throw a knife. And, from there, if you wanted to get more damage through, you could spend your remaining floating resource on the Razor Reflex. Or because Hurl has go again, you could also spend that remaining resource on the Razor Reflex after you play the next Sedate. So initially you see a hand like this, you see the 2 Sedates, and the Hurl, it may not seem super flexible, but when you factor in the potential to use Snapdragon or the Vest, you got some flexibility there. So again, like I said, this isn't a perfect representation of gameplay because, we don't have an opponent. But it is a really nice way to just show how some of the cards in the deck can interact. This video has gone on a little bit longer than our deck techs are going to in the future. But we wanted to make sure that we just communicated that we're really excited to do this series. We're really excited to talk about budget deck lists and what it takes to not just get new people playing Flesh and Blood, but falling in love with Flesh and Blood and really loving the game and loving the heroes that they're playing, and having positive play experiences when they show up, and potentially, right, walking away from an armory night, with some promos or a playmat or something awesome. We've tried in our own play group If there is, an armory kit that has the, that has the playmat to be given away by the store, what we really try and do is to make sure that if there's a new player there and they're really enjoying the game, they seem like they're ready to come back a bunch, and they're talking about what heroes they're interested in. We've gotten their buy-in to the game. Then we try and make sure that everyone votes to have that person walk away with the playmat. And we've had so many people return every single week for our Friday night armories just by doing something as simple as giving away that armory kit playmat to a new player and showing them that FAB is the best community to be a part of. So I really appreciate you sticking around for this video. Like I said, all the deck techs in the future should hopefully be shorter, but I and Tony, the other half of King's Table, just really like talking about Flesh and Blood. So hit us up on Twitter, King's Table Games. You throw some comments down below on this YouTube video. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We really appreciate you sticking through us with this video. And we love Flesh and Blood. We love talking about Flesh and Blood. And so if you have any questions, anything like that, just let us know, and we'd be happy to help. If you're a new player and you have gotten an opportunity to try this deck, play this deck, or you have any questions or anything like that, just let us know. We're open to chat. Absolutely love Flesh and Blood, and like I said, appreciate you sticking around. So like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you so much. We're really excited about the content coming for the King's Table, and we appreciate every single one of you. Have a wonderful whatever time of the day you're watching this video.